I'm Gab, he's Jules. Grey skies over West London. Grey skies certainly over Madrid, actually, especially the white half of Madrid. Xabi Alonso and Real Madrid losing again to Manchester City. That's going to be our main game in what was, I think, actually a pretty packed week of Champions League football. Lots to talk about, but obviously we have to start at the Bernabeu. The knives were out after the defeat against Celta on Sunday night. And here comes another defeat. However, if you're looking in terms of performance, if you're looking are the players looking to get in the sack? Can you learn anything from this game? I think Xabi Alonso comes out, if not strengthened, and certainly not damaged by this performance. Let's not forget, a bunch of guys out, Kylian Mbappe on the bench, not fit. And at the same time, they had a lot of chances. This game could have been a draw. This game could have gone either way. Absolutely, it was far more open than, the two control obsessives would have liked.
Yeah, very different defeat to the Celta one, where the lack of effort, the lack of everything really was so obvious for a game at Bernabeu. This one was different. They took the lead, and I think they'd be disappointed in the 2 goals they gave away, certainly, on a corner, and then the foul and the mistake by Rudiger. But overall, even with the ball, even in the intensity that they put and that kind of energy, Rodrigo, who just never starts for Real Madrid under Xabi Alonso, got a start and did well. We even saw Endrick, that we hardly seen all season.
Hit the crossbar.
Brahim Diaz played. Garcia, just because Kylian wasn't there, not great. But so I think in terms of response from the team and the players towards Xabi, I think there was a lot of positive.
Gonzalo Garcia, by the way, was the top goal scorer at the World Cup. So respect.
True. This is slightly better level than the World Cup.
You're looking at Alaves away, where they have a massive injury crisis because the 2 dopes got themselves suspended, of course, in Carreras and Fran Garcia. And then it's Sevilla at home, and then it's Christmas. So if we think in terms, there's not a long break, but there is a mini break in Spain.
Yeah.
Is it just a question of getting through those games and then regrouping?
Yeah, I mean, the pressure is still there, and very much so. Even if you could say the players played for him yesterday, this and that, it's just another defeat. Real Madrid have won 2 of the last 8 games in all competition. It's not enough. It's not good enough. It's not acceptable for a club like that.
Do you know when the last time was that they won 2 out of 8?
No.
It was a French manager who then resigned.
Yes. So I can. It
was Zinedine Zidane, by the way, in case you're
I can understand why the pressure is very much back on. Is there enough pressure to get rid of him now and bring him like Arbeloa for Alvaro Arbeloa? Yeah. Arbeloa. I'm not sure because I don't see them losing either of those 2 games that you mentioned, Alaves and Sevilla. So probably the best thing is to go until Christmas and then just reassess the situation.
Alaves, with everybody out, anything can happen. That's the only proviso I can make. And I don't know
if you don't beat Alaves, even with those injuries, then okay.
I think you'd need to. I think you would need to lose one and maybe draw one, or have some sort of incident happen. A word on Manchester City, because we can't gloss over this. They're right up there. I don't think that they're anywhere near their potential. So you can look at it as a positive and say, aha, imagine once everything clicks, how good they're going to be. I mean, he made such a big deal before the game about the fact that Stones and Rodri were unavailable. And I'm like, bro, Rodri's been out forever.
Yeah.
Stones plays 1 game in 3. I know he started all the Champions League game, I think, except for one until that point. But you can't tell me at this stage that Rodri and Stones are key players for you in what you want to do. There may be value added.
They make a massive difference. Yeah,
they're value adds, but they're not. They can't. You can't say I need these guys in my team.
Oh no, I disagree. I think he does. Nico Gonzalez is nowhere near as good as maybe Stones is a little bit different, although I don't think there's a defender at City that is as good as him technically, apart from real defenders. I'm not talking about O'Reilly or Mateus Nunes. I think Rodri is pivotal, so key for them, but we never know if he's going to come back to what kind of fitness.
You had a long time to get used to him not being here, and you should be playing better without him because you've had a lot of time.
I like what Pep said after the game when he said he was happy and everything, obviously he was. But he said if we play like this against a better team, like a PhD, and he mentioned PhD. It's not me. He said this won't be enough, and he's right. This is not. This was far too open.
Yeah, I think it's hard to disagree with them. You might add Arsenal in that too, as teams that are better
Bayern,
than where Real Madrid are right now. Jules, you touched upon this before, the defensive errors that led to the 2 goals for Manchester City. And I'm going to start with the second one. Antonio Rudiger on Erling Haaland. Now, we know Rudiger's a physical player and stuff like that. I'm fine that it went to VAR because I think you want to be sure when you get a penalty, and Turpin, I'm assuming, looked at it and said, okay, it looks like Rudiger's basically thrown the big man to the ground. However, maybe he was pulling his shirt or whatever. Let's let VAR do its thing.
Yeah.
We're okay with that. And Turpin went, look.
Yeah, I don't think you can see it properly from where he's either. So, it's all good.
But I think he probably could, but he doesn't have a 360. If you look where he's positioned, he knows that there's a foul from Rudiger. But what he doesn't know, because if at the same time when there's mutual shirt pulling or whatever, right? Is this just a case of Rudiger being another symptom of Real Madrid's issues at the back?
I think if you're a manager, I think if you're Xabi Alonso or somebody else at that level, it must be so frustrating and infuriated to have somebody like that. I know he's a very good defender on his day. I know he's got a lot of qualities. There's a moment in the first half where Cherki has the ball. It just comes back and just passes the ball in midfield. And then Rudiger, he's 3 seconds late and goes and just barges into Cherki for nothing. And you're thinking like, what are you doing? And this is exactly the same. And he loses Haaland clearly because then he's behind him and the cross is coming for O'Reilly and Haaland's going to head the ball. So he rugby tackles him. But I don't know. I mean, for me, if everybody was fit, I would not start him anyway, and I don't think Xabi would.
It's Militao and Heisen if everybody's fit.
He plays because of the injuries, but they cost him. He cost them the game.
All right, we have to be fair, and just because I certainly love Thibaut Courtois, I can't give him a pass. That's on him for the O'Reilly goal, yeah?
So Joha, who I was with, said that if you look at O'Reilly ducking in front of the ball, Courtois sees the ball really late on the header by Guardiola, and I think he can't. This is a ball that he catches every day. Like any goalkeeper I don't know, even in your 5th division, 6th division catches that ball. For Courtois not to do it, something happened clearly, and I think the fact that O'Reilly ducks in the eye line of Courtois probably surprises him, and then he fumbles it really, and it's an easy tap in.
Okay, but because this sounds to me like the excuse, well, he's so good and it's such an elementary mistake, something must have happened, right? Sometimes stuff happens, he made a mistake, not because he's a bad keeper, but because good keepers. But this ties back,
not there, I think he catches the ball.
But I think this ties back to what to what Pep said and what Xabi Alonso said about City need to be better and against a better team. Because even against this version of Real Madrid, with everybody out, your 2 goals were pretty fortuitous. And yes, you had a bunch of other chances, but then so did Real Madrid.
Jeremy, they have 8 shots on targets against Real Madrid on Wednesday night. Courtois made 6 saves and the 2 goals. That's a lot.
And they also gave up a lot because I think defensively.
But that's always the problem. We know that against Leeds is the problem. So if it's against Leeds the problem, it will be against Real Madrid.
So, but this is what I struggle with a little bit with Pep and trying to figure him out, right? So in terms of his arc, we've had so many different incarnations and versions of Pep over the years, right? So obviously, well, leaving aside the early stuff, when he comes in, the fullback stepping into midfield, possession, blah, blah, blah. Then he goes in the other direction, and all of a sudden, he basically plays 4 center backs at fullback, right?
Yeah.
When it was Walker and Guardiola at left back. Now, having spent a fortune on defenders, I might add, you're in a situation where it seems like you get caught in transition probably a lot more than you should.
Yeah, completely.
And more than you did before.
Yeah.
What's he trying to do? Is that the price you pay for maybe not having another 2-way central midfielder? Because obviously when Reinders starts, and I'm not saying Reinders is necessarily better or whatever, he's just different. Or in the past when you had, Rodri plus Kovacic, maybe you had people who were a little more alert, a little more predisposed to shutting down the transition than you do when it's Foden and Bernardo and Cherki in there, or this version of Bernardo at this
yeah.
age. Maybe your press isn't as good as it was. Maybe the front three aren't as good as at pressing. What is it?
Certainly on the right hand side, so the opposition left hand side, and it was the case against yesterday. And when the ball moves from left to right, in many games now they've struggled. Like on the Rodrigo goal, for example, it was quite obvious to see in that first half, especially on Wednesday night. That overloaded midfield, I think, is a great idea. Pep Linders, the verticality, the energy. They run more than last season, a lot more than last season. I get that, but there's still issues out of possession, especially when they lose the ball. And I just don't think Nico is good enough to play like that. But then you have to play like that in the hope that when Rodri comes back, whenever that is, Rodri can be the final piece in that jigsaw, that what you want to do. Because otherwise it's too difficult. You can't have one way of playing when it's Nico and one way of playing when it's Rodri. But right now, it cost them every game, really. Okay, so against Sunderland, they dominated and that overloaded midfield worked really well and no problem. But as we said, against Leeds, at this game again, they could have conceded 2 goals, maybe more. There are issues with Donnarumma and on set pieces and his awareness when into space and when he comes out, like on the cross from Rodrigo to Vini early on in the game too. So defensively, they've got issues. O'Reilly, we were mentioning off air, preparing for the show, is probably good with the ball. He was great attacking-wise on Wednesday night, but defensively, he's just not good enough. He's not ready. He's a 10 that plays at left back. So Rodrigo ate him alive for breakfast.
Yeah, he also doesn't have the number. He also doesn't have just simply, put this very, maybe I'm oversimplifying, he does not have a fullback body type.
No, yeah.
He's big and lanky. You can tell this is a guy who's learning a new position, and it may be easier for a smaller holding midfielder or whatever, or even a winger to learn that position than it is for something like him. And I guess he's there because he steps into midfield and he's an extra passer.
Yeah, because he's so
and
good
he's got the
going
long
forwards.
legs. He's also good going forward.
Yeah.
Because once he accelerates, he builds up speed, and he's difficult to contain. On the Real Madrid front, is it as simple as Occam's razor? Like the simplest explanation is sometimes the right one. This is a team that's built around superstar individuals. When you had Ancelotti, and maybe when you had Zidane as well, the message was simple. You guys go out and play. I'll keep you happy. Zidane with his charisma, Ancelotti with his touchy-feeliness. Now you've gone from that to a guy who doesn't see football that way, probably shouldn't see football that way, but sees it as like, I want to make the whole greater than the sum of the parts. He is a system guy, fundamentally. That is what got him the job. And he has all these players who aren't used to necessarily being system guys. And they don't seem to get what he wants them to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact as well that it seems that we've gone down, this team is going to be built around Arda Güler, and then he's on the bench for a game like this. Mastantuono on the right-hand side, and then we haven't seen him for, 2 months or so now.
He's fit again?
He's fit again. He was on the bench. There's a lot of things that he's trying to do, and I know the injuries are not helping, and the pressure that he's under is not helping, and the lack of result in the last month or so is not helping. I get that. But I think if we struggle to see the direction that this team is going and what he's trying to do, imagine if you're a player there. And it's the same. And to go back on the different kind of manager that he is, the Ancelottis and Zidanes, they are hardly no more managers like that in world football anyway. The more likely, and when we thought about, okay, who could come in, if the next one is going to be more likely like Xabi Alonso and that kind of coach, if you want, really, because that's what Xabi is, than a manager like Zidane and Ancelotti are.
Right? Can you explain this concept a little further for people? I understand what you're saying. Maybe not everybody out there gets what you're saying.
It's very simple. I put it in a very nice way. I interviewed Zinedine Zidane when he was coaching the team in his second spell, and he said this really, really fascinating thing on Modric. He said, I'm not going to tell Modric how to pass the ball or what to do with the ball. He's a Ballon d'Or winner. He knows exactly what to do with the ball. What I'm here for is just to make sure that he's in the perfect environment to thrive. That's all I do. And I do the same with every Real Madrid player. They are the best in the world. They know exactly what to do with the ball. Tactics is not a problem for them. They can play in different systems, in different contexts, everything. I'm not there to teach them how to play football. They know that better than me. I'm here to make sure that they're happy in the right environment and that everything around them is going to get the best out of them. And that's it. Yeah. And this is the best way of putting it. And Carlo is the same. Xabi Alonso is, when the ball is there, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, I want that many touches, I want this movement, I want this. And it's a very different style.
Yeah, so I think you put it brilliantly there. I remember going to see Carlo when he was at Bayern, and Zidane had taken over, and he was doing really, really well with Real Madrid. And I was surprised that the great stone face sulk was getting such a rise out of his players. And Carlo says, you know what, like, I don't understand. I'm not surprised because he has a different approach, but he has the respect because he's been teammates with some of them at the time and because of who he is. He doesn't talk much, but when he talks, all his words have a ton of weight, and they're all designed to, like you said, create the environment. On the tactical side, is it super sophisticated? He's like, there's only so many tactical systems out there. He knows about tactical systems. He's played under many different coaches, Zinedine Zidane. And he knows, most importantly, that executing a simpler tactical system well with better players, which he has, is going to be more effective than having a super sophisticated tactical players, which is generally designed to mask your weaknesses. At Real Madrid, there aren't that many individual weaknesses in players. So I thought that was a big one. So I think you're right. In some ways, it's the system that we create, right? So to get the Real Madrid job, you generally, in most cases, need to work your way up. And so you need to deal with bad players and show that you're, not bad players, but average players, and show that you can make them greater. And so you need to show that you have a system. But once you get to Real Madrid, you maybe can't implement that system. And I'll give you just a quick contrast just to wrap this. Barcelona also have a system coach, right? Very much so. Might they be a better player if he wasn't a system coach? Might they be a better team?
Better team, maybe.
Would that be more suited to this group of players? I mean, it's questions that are out there, but I love the fact that the talent of the individual, and big respect to what Zidane said about Modric, although I think if you looked closely when he said he's a better footballer than me, I'm imagine his nose got a little longer.
But at the
like
time,
Pinocchio.
It was,
Yeah, because Zidane is like 10 years older and retired.
Exactly.
But 13 years older, I think. But yeah, I think this fundamental thing is I almost feel like it takes something different to coach. And it's kind of the absurdity, right? Also because the biggest teams are also, the gap between them and everybody else is so much bigger than it ever was. They're over-resourced. So the coach necessarily, on the tactical side, becomes less important. All right, enough Xabi Alonso. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, Gav.
Alessandro Bastoni tugs, Florian Wirtz dives, VAR intervenes, and Dominic Szoboszlai converts as Liverpool get the late winner away to Inter. Jules, your thoughts?
I thought it was a really soft penalty, like the whole world. Obviously, for me, it's compensation for the goal that was disallowed for Konate. That I could not see any clear and obvious mistake from the referee that gave it originally. Apart from that, without Mo Salah, I thought this Liverpool team was coherent in that 4-4-2 diamond with this kind of kitty up front. I like the role for McAllister in there. I like the kind of fluidity for Jones and Szoboszlai. It's a game that should have finished as a draw, and then if it's a draw, you might look at it in a different way. But it's a good base to work on in this kind of post-Mo Salah era.
Yeah, I think Inter losing Çalhanoğlu is, in a game like this, in a different game, maybe not so much, I think was a huge blow. It is funny with VAR. In Italian media, there was a big deal made out of the fact there was a Virgil van Dijk where the ball struck his arm. That wasn't even a talk. I didn't even see it on the highlights in this country. Nobody talked about it. So I think we have to be careful with the over-varification here. And this is a perfect case where Felix Weyer, I think, should have had the personalities. Just because you're called to the screen and you have this conversation, why are you disallowing that goal? Simple as.
Mo Salah was left out of the squad, obviously, following his comment at the weekend. Gab, you wrote about this today. Where do you see this going?
So I think, or two things. I mean, first of all, the whole narrative has become Salah versus Slot, as if Slot were the only person making the decisions on the other side. It's become like a moral tale where, obviously Salah speaking out of turn in that way is not, you can't have that. You can't have that in a team. But it's not a moral thing. I think it speaks to something else. It speaks to planning. Mohamed Salah got a new contract on April 11th from Liverpool, from Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes. They had a plan, and they had a plan that involved Salah, and they had a plan that Slot was a part of, but it's not like Slot sat there and says, like, yes, let's keep Salah, let's do that. Now, Richard and Michael, you guys go and do this for me. No. It's a group decision. And I feel like they've been absent to it. If it's true that he has no relationship with the coach, that's the problem. That's why you have a sporting director with an office next door to the coach. That's why you have a coach that should be going to talk to him. Salah has obviously failed to get production from Salah. Salah, the other thing too is all the analytics nerds tell us his numbers were on the slide well before, not just this season, but even in the second half of last season, right?
Yeah.
So I think there has to be a bigger accountability here. I don't think the door is closed. I think I love Arne Slot. I love what he said about the first step and stuff like that. I think that's him offering a way back. I'm always skeptical of the Saudi things because, I'm sure there's middlemen in touch. There always are. It's just, does he want to do this? Can he find a different solution? Does he want to find a way back in? And I'll tell you what, this 4 diamond, if you want to call it that, I don't know if it's going to work long term. But if you're talking about a formation where you can have some combination of Isak, Ekitike, Salah, and Gakpo as your front two, you can have Wirtz at 10, in some games, maybe not every game, and you have the attacking fullbacks one at a time, maybe two at a time, to go and give you width. That is something that can offer him a way into the lineup. So I don't think the door is, just a hunch I get, but I don't think the door is closed to Mo Salah at all. And I also think Liverpool need to take this as a learning opportunity about what went wrong in their summer recruitment and in their handling of Salah. 2 goals from Jules Koundé, Paris-born, but not Paris-bred. No. He went away. He left you. Prodigal son.
Yeah.
Barcelona turned it around against Eintracht.
Yes, I mean, this was a typical Barcelona game where they were so open defensively, the high line, etc. And that Frankfurt, who I think made 60 passes in the first half, but were 1-0 up at halftime. Obviously, on a quick transition, almost exploited it more than that. But in the end, the talent, the substitution from Flick, to be fair, because Rashford coming on at halftime made a massive difference. Changed a great cross for the first Koundé goal, then Lamine on the cross for the second Koundé goal. And it's a game that could have finished 5-4, 5-3 for Barcelona, but they won, and that's the most important after the defeat at Chelsea 2 weeks ago.
They're on 10 points, which you might think doesn't look good, but their last 2 games are both eminently winnable. I think they're going top 8.
Me too. Huge win for Jose Mourinho and Benfica as they beat Napoli 2-0 to keep their qualifying hopes alive, Gab.
First of all, respect.
Yes.
Right? It's still a tough run. I think they play Real Madrid in their final game. Napoli were absolutely terrible. They were doing better. And Conte brought this up like 3 times in his post-match press conference. Well, we had to play on Sunday night. We played a tough game against Juventus. It took a lot out of us. Benfica played on Friday. Just stop repeating it. Who cares? You should have put in a better performance. This was a really bad performance from Napoli. Jules, we're not done. We have more quick hits.
Yes.
Despite a long list of injuries and absentees, Arsenal beat Bruges 3-0 to stay perfect. It's a perfect 6 for 6 at the top of the Champions League. Jules, good way to bounce back after disappointment from the weekend?
Yeah, really good. I mean, they were outstanding at times. Not always, because Raya had to make a couple of really good saves too. Maybe a little bit too open. But considering the back four of Lewis, Kelly, Hincapié, Norgard and White, no Saka, for example.
Is he fit? Is that just he's just being rested, Saka?
Yeah, he came on after 70 minutes. He took the outline.
Okay.
Yeah. No. It was just a rest, like for Rice, like for Timber, Otrosa. And so I think it was really good from Arsenal with Madueke with 2 goals. The first one exceptional. Martinelli with a lovely goal. They could have scored 5 or 6 easily. So really good. They've scored 17 goals in the Champions League and conceded 1 in 6 games.
Yeah, Bruges, led by, of course, Mr. Champions League, Hans van Aken. Obviously, they were a mess. They also had a bunch of players out. But I thought this was so professional from Arsenal.
Ready to hype Leonard Carl, Gab, the 17-year-old, becomes the youngest ever to score in 3 straight Champions League appearances and Bayern beat Sporting 3-1.
Kinda, just because he's different. He's tiny. He's 17 years old. He has a little sort of porn star mustache. And he just plays differently. He scored a nice goal. We saw him score a tremendous goal against Arsenal as well. I don't know who he reminds me of because he's low to the ground. In some ways, he's short. He's low to the ground. He has super quick feet. Maybe, I don't want to be blasphemous, but certainly in the way he runs, the way he moves the ball, he reminds me a little bit of that guy who's in Miami and just won the MLS MVP at 17. Yeah. What Messi was like at 17, not Messi later. Okay, be very clear on this. But yeah, he's a weapon to have. I don't know if we're going to see much more of him at number 10 because I don't know that you can sustain that position with his body type and physicality. Yeah. I think he's better off coming from wide areas. But Bayern have a live one. We'll see how things shake out once Musiala returns, which must be imminent now.
Yeah, he's back at training.
Atalanta come from a goal down to beat Chelsea 2-1 as Gianluca Scamacca and the Prince, Charles de Ketelaere, find the net. Jules, more inconsistency from Maresca's men.
Yeah, the first half was decent, to be fair, and then I think Maresca messed up everything. For me, this is on him massively.
Oh, more than on your boy Wes.
I mean, Wes...
he's not good.
Well, he's good.
He's not good, not good like his transfer fee.
He's good, I think. And he made a mistake on the Scamacca goal. He forgets it completely. I don't know, Maresca trying to explain that if he had another change, he would have brought Estevao on. He had another change to make. So I don't understand. I don't understand what he did there. But for me, after what happened against Leeds and Bournemouth to some extent, this is bad again from Maresca.
Yeah, I think very much outplayed by Atalanta in this game. A lot of this down to Maresca, but there's continuous chopping and changing. And look, I don't want to pick on Fofana, but like, if the guy doesn't have any kind of regularity, it's like he's a project. Let's get him back to where we thought he was going to be.
He can't play every 3 days anywhere physically, which is a problem. I know for any.
He's what, 23?
Yeah, that's true. Tottenham Hotspur rolled to a 3-0 win over Slavia Prague. Gav is the man with 2 first names impressing you more now?
No, not based on this game because Slavia Prague are terrible. It seems like the only thing they try to do when they're...
Who's the guy with the 2 first names?
What? Thomas Frank.
I was trying to think about player.
They're not good. No. And they just play to defend, and eventually you're gonna make a mistake. I thought the Xavi Simons penalty was exactly what we don't want to see. I think that's just a dive to win a penalty. Was there contact? Sure. I wish people wouldn't do that. He went out there. I don't get, like, are we going to see this again? Archie Gray with Palhinha? Or are you building towards something in a front four? Or are we going to go back where you pack the team with defensive midfielders in some games? You can't do this and expect any kind of regularity. I thought Colomwani would play in this game. It seemed made for him. No, he's on the bench. I just don't understand him. But yeah, he got the win. And they got a shot at top 8. So well done there. Speedy Barcola rattles the crossbar, but Paris Saint-Germain don't go past a 0-0 draw away to Athletic Bilbao. Jules, nothing to worry about, right?
No, because they were really good. They had 73% of the ball, many chances. Unai Simon made 3-4 outstanding save, and there's that one from Barcola who should have crossed the ball to Kvaratskhelia every single day.
What? No, not when he hit the crossbar.
Yeah. Kvaratskhelia is on his own.
I know, but how much he's Speedy Barcola? How much more? You want to make the highlight reel.
But he missed.
Okay,
so.
no.
But the move to get to that chance was incredible. The passing, the movement from PSG. They're getting close to their best. Again, Desiree Doué came back, so it's good. It's 10 years since they last had a 0-0 draw in the Champions League. Second half goals from Jonathan David and Weston McKennie in the other way helped Juventus to a 2-0 win over Paphos. Luciano Spalletti needed this. They were being booed at halftime.
Yeah, and I think some people are probably still booing them at the end. Yeah, you get a reaction. It's nice. David scores. McKennie, who I think is been playing much better than people give him credit for. Opening the scoring was really well taken goal, I saw. At one point, we saw David Luiz going on a run from the back, beating 3 opponents. The man is, in his 40s and is a center back? Come on, man. Like, he needs to sort it out and do better. We had games where they were drawing and playing well, Juve, and they're getting criticized. Now here they played badly and they won. But it was a big win. They needed this to stay on track. Let's detour back to league football. Manchester United are up to joint 5th after a 4-1 win at Wolves Monday night. Jules, is it starting to come together for Ruben Amorim, or did they just happen to play against somebody who's beaten nobody this season?
I think we know by now you should not take anything away from a win against Wolves because they're that bad. So bad. I mean, one of the worst performances I've seen in a very long time. But I like the tweak from Amorim by moving Bruno a little bit higher up and not on the double pivot really with Casemiro. You could do that because Wolves are so terrible. Anyway, I'm not sure you can do that against Bournemouth, for example. In this game we're coming up, but it's a game that they had to win and they won quite comfortably as well. So well done to them.
The 3-1, 5-1. How about that?
Yeah. Also on Monday, Milan come from 2 goals down in Turin to beat Torino 3-2 and join Napoli at the top of Serie A. Christian Pulisic is a super sub guy.
Yeah, he had the flu, and it was funny when he scored his first goal. The joke was that like nobody wanted to come near him. He's actually the top goal scorer in Serie A. He has 7 goals in 446 minutes. Eat your heart out, Harry Kane, Erling Haaland, Kylian Mbappe. Actually, their numbers are probably comparable, but still, I think Milan were actually better in this game than would suggest. Obviously, Pulisic came on. They lost Leao. There's still work to do, but at least there's something more performance-wise. But then again, I also wonder, it's Torino who are really bad, horrible football, and like, oh, look, we have an unexpected lead. What should we do? Let's just give the ball to the opposition and wait for them to score. That's not the way to play. A late Alex Grimaldo goal means Newcastle have to settle for 2-2 draw by Leverkusen. Jules, fair result?
I think so, although you'd be gutted and frustrated if you're Newcastle to have led until the 88th minute and then concede the goal like they did. It's a lovely goal, Maza, for Grimaldo in a kind of 1-2. It's really, really impressive. But before that, they responded well from going a goal down. They still can't keep a lead, which is, I don't know what the problem is, but they keep throwing away those leads, Newcastle, which must be, again, very frustrating. But I think the draw was probably fair.
Yeah, 2 of the goals were lucky. I think the first goal and obviously the Flecken glitch brain fart that leads to the Voltermata. But the other 2, Lewis Miley, what a leap.
Yeah, great. He's a big boy. We used to bother Glim throwing results away and being unlucky. Gab, was it the other way around this time in their 2-2 draw away at Borussia Dortmund?
Borussia Dortmund going back to their roots and throwing games away. Yeah, they dominated. I think the XG 3.19 from BVB as Julien Brandt scores twice. They look like they're in control. And then the old insecurities come out. Like Bodo Glimt played pretty football.
Yeah.
Just keep it in front of you and see out the game. It's really not that complicated. I think Kovac's head was exploding because this was shades of the old Borussia Dortmund. Dortmund, I think they play Spurs and Inter next. So they're very much on the bubble. So this is a massive 2 points dropped. Our boy Roberto De Zerbi sends out his 21st different lineup in 21st game, something which is objectively difficult to do.
Yeah.
And it's bedlam in Brussels. Marseille win 3-2 as Mason Greenwood scores twice, but Union Saint-Gilloise nearly equalized late, Jules. It's your boy, your favorite, Kevin McAllister.
Yeah. I mean, there was an offside by a millimeter on not the McAllister goal that was disallowed, but on the Promise David goal that was disallowed. Literally, when I say millimeter, it was a case of a millimeter. And then Promise had another amazing header saved by Rulli. Marseille were in control, 3-1 up, and then I'm not sure what happened. De Zerbi messed up his system early on with the back 3. Didn't work, never worked, went back to a back 4. But they play Liverpool at the Velodrome in January now for the next round of this league phase, which is going to be massive and an incredible game. And if they win that, then they'll have a good shot to have a good position in the top 24. So after the win against Newcastle, winning at Brussels, which we expected, but still, although they make it hard work for themselves.
I was trying to figure out if it was mathematically possible to send out a different lineup in every single game of Marseille this season, assuming that it would be 50-odd games.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is. I
It must
can't be bothered to go and to figure out the
Must
math,
be.
but anybody on social media wants me to know. There's a basic formula for it. So
Atletico Madrid bounced back after defeat at the weekend and avoid getting bossed by PSV Eindhoven. But Gab, this was closer than it looked.
it was very much closer than it looked. First of all, Atletico Madrid, Sorloth was, I think Sorloth is in a better situation than Julian Alvarez right now.
Yeah.
And I think he should. I know it seems crazy. Alvarez, who I don't think he scored at home in the league since August, but the PSV Eindhoven put together something like 2.23 xG. This is not acceptable.
Yeah.
That's not acceptable. Pepe with the goal late to open it up again. This Atleti, I know obviously there was trauma from the weekend and whatever else, but I don't think he necessarily feels like he's in control of this team the way we're used to seeing, or the way we have been used to seeing him in the past. They need to sort it out. But yes, Bosch, chapeau again. Honorable defeat. Flo Balogun gives Monaco the 3 points against Galatasaray. But Jules, how unlucky were they that the magnificent Ugurkan Shakir, the goalkeeper, had to come off after saving a penalty, making unbelievable saves. And they got the guy who came on. I don't know if you saw the whole sequence. I watched the whole sequence.
Yeah.
Before he comes on, there's people shouting at him from the stands, presumably telling him, you suck, because he does suck, as we then found out.
Yeah.
He turns around. Rather than focusing on getting in the game, he turns around. He argues with him. He seems to shout at somebody on the bench. He comes onto the pitch, and then he glitches completely on the goal.
Yeah, hasn't touched the ball when he comes on. It's a corner, and he kind of goes for, try to come down, not sure, comes back down, and it's too late. And it's a good number 9 goal by Balogun, who missed a couple of chances before that. He could have had a hat trick easily. But Monaco needed that win so badly, not just in this Champions League to try to finish top 24, but also for their overall form, which hasn't been great lately. So Cognoli and the players really needed that win.
So they were fortunate, though. Yeah, I've never seen that with a goalkeeper. Somebody
No,
who's
but
just,
they were. They
No, they
massively to win.
clearly.
Like,
Even the
on that
return of
goal,
Victor Osimhen didn't quite do it for them. But
yeah, definitely.
man, that was. You watch the highlight if you can. Watch the whole sequence of when.
Yeah.
I've never seen somebody come on and look less prepared, more distracted. I even wonder if is he really the backup keeper, or is he like?
I think so. Yeah.
Are you sure it's not like some bus driver, security guard?
No.
All right.
Jason Martin scores late, but Olympiacos get the 3 points away to Karat Almaty. Gab, Mr. Marinakis is alive and well.
That's right. Despite all the mean things certain people say about him, like they hit the woodwork 3 times. It was getting nervy, and I think Mr. Marinakis would not have been best pleased if they didn't come away with the 3 points, because it is Kairat Almaty. But eventually, Gelson Martins gets it done. It's kind of thing where if they score earlier, they could have scored 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Ajax get their first points, scoring 3 times in the last 11 minutes to win 4-2 at Karabag. Finally, some luck, Jules.
Yeah, Peter Graham, who come on as a manager to replace Johnny Heitinga, who lost his first 3 games and then now has won 3 in a row. But it looked like they were not going to win this one. They were twice behind, and then Oscar Gluck came on and changed the game completely. So it's good for them. And now with 3 points. No. With 2 games to go, the 24th team has 6 points, so there's 3 points.
Don't go there. Don't go. I don't even want to call. No. Mathematically, you're right.
It's possible. Look, but like they responded well of going down.
They're coached by a guy who lives up to his name in the way he looks and in the way Ajax play.
It's crazy, Gabi. If Villarreal win the game in hand in La Liga, they will move to 2nd place. But in the Champions League, they're in last position alongside Karat Almaty as they lose at home to Copenhagen 3-2 thanks to a leg goal from Andreas Cornelius.
Andreas Cornelius, who I'd forgotten that he existed.
Really?
I always thought he retired. I know he'd been to Copenhagen. He was like a punchline in some of the other clubs he's been at.
Yeah. He's only scored in one season in Turkey, but otherwise it's only at Copenhagen that he scored. Nowhere else.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so if you look at his career, he had that one great season at Copenhagen that took him to Cardiff.
Yeah.
Was terrible there. Then I think he goes back to Copenhagen, does well, that takes him to Italy. Atalanta Parma, dreadful. Then he goes back to Copenhagen, does well, goes to Trabzonspor, something like that.
It was
does well in that
one
season. And then saying like, you know what, I scored in Copenhagen, so let's go back there.
Hey, whatever. Works for him. Villarreal obviously not believing in the mathematics like you did with Ajax,
Yeah,
because they threw this away against an opponent that they should have been in control of.
Terrible.
Let's check it on the Women's Champions League, Jules. There's only one round to go. Barcelona beat Benfica, and Lyonnais win at Manchester United. I think their places in the top four, and in the Women's Champions League, it's the top four that avoid the playoffs, and then it's 5 through 12 that go into the playoffs.
Yeah.
They seem okay, but there's plenty of uncertainty for the other two spots. Arsenal eke out a win over Twente. Chelsea beat up Roma. Real Madrid get a big 3 points over Wolfsburg.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting. I think the top 12 is pretty much sorted now. Valaranga can still do it, but I don't think they will with that one game remaining. So it's where you finish really in that top 12. That'd be very interesting for smaller teams like Paris FC, for example, who play Barcelona next week, because the next one is already next week. Would be very, very interesting, especially if they can beat Barcelona. Top 4 is key, so you don't have those 2 extra games that you're trying to avoid, and you're straight into the quarterfinals. It was a big win from Lyon away at United. I thought they were outstanding, and even Barcelona without Aitana, still far too good for Benfica, like Chelsea were as well in their game, winning 6-0 against Roma, smashing it. Really, so next week will be really interesting. Make sure you watch it on Disney+.
And Juventus, big winners against St. Polten.
True, that's true. An organization called Fair Square has asked FIFA's Ethics Committee to investigate whether FIFA President Gianni Infantino broke his own organization's rules in giving US President Donald Trump the FIFA Peace Prize, Gab.
Yeah, look, obviously he was awarded this FIFA Peace Prize last Friday, for which he got a medal, he got a certificate.
And a trophy that looks like zombies' hands coming out of the ground.
The trophy was a little creepy. I think they got Cristiano Ronaldo's sculptor to make that one. But he seemed pleased with it. So, look, I put this in context, because this was on like the BBC website, whatever. The ethics committee, it would be like you and me writing a letter to FIFA and saying, hey, FIFA, you should do this, right? It's just a lobbying committee. That said, they make some valid points. Should a FIFA president, and it's not just the Peace Prize, it's also the way, he's made public statements about how everybody should support the President of the United States because he's doing such a great job with the economy. He's taking political views, which he's entitled to, but not with the platform of being FIFA president. That's what they're saying. You have to maintain some level of political neutrality, because guess what? The U.S. is a democracy. So the next person who's in charge might not like the current president as much as you do, and you will need to work with them. So I think they make a valid point there, and they say, look, FIFA's governance right now is such a mess that you have a president that can do pretty much what they want, and it's very much top down. That's kind of their main thing. They want to find a reform there. I don't think it's going to success. I think it's going to succeed. The ethics committee, they have investigated. I think they investigated Infantino once before and then gave him a pass. I think it was over a bonus payment or something that they queried, if I'm not mistaken. I know I'm on legal shaking around here, but I'm pretty sure they have. So they are an independent body. They can do it. Whether they choose to take on this fight and what it actually means, that's a whole other kettle of fish. But a lot of people have been calling for this. Paris Saint-Germain have joined the multi-club family, Jules. They take over Belgium's Eupen. Yeah,
Castle Eupen, who are currently in the second division in Belgium. If you don't know where that is, it's right on the border with Germany. It's what they had wanted to do. They own already a quarter of Braga, for example, in Portugal. They've looked at buying a club in Spain. It's QSI, who own PSG, who will also own these other clubs.
Qatari sports investment.
Yes, exactly. So let's see if it works. Claude Makélélé, for example, used to be an Eupen manager when they were in the top flight in Belgium, not that long ago, 5 years ago.
The thing about Eupen that I should point out here is that Eupen's current owner, previous owners, are the Aspire Academy in Qatar. So, for those who don't know, in Qatar, leading up to the World Cup, the Qatari government built this massive kind of like training facility, state-of-the-art pitches, and so on. They were going to kind of raise the next generation of superstars ahead of the World Cup. I mean, it's a massive, really ambitious project. I think we've both been there. But my point is they didn't really buy another club. They kind of
Yeah, kind of.
given that ultimately Paris
also owned
Saint-Germain's
by
owner
Chris- yeah.
is the Emir, and ultimately the owner of
Yeah, that's
Aspire
right.
is also the Emir. I think it's more like they kind of gave it over to
Yeah.
QSI to run.
Infantino is getting stick from everywhere, Gab. He's been criticized now for accepting a Lebanese passport.
This is kind of stupid, but I guess I see their point. Like, first of all, so he met with I think the president of Lebanon or some high officials, and because when this happens, they like giving gifts, and Gianni Infantino's wife is Lebanese. They said, look, we will give you a Lebanese passport to go with your other passports. I'm sure he has a Swiss one. I know he has an Italian one.
Yeah, he's got both, yeah.
It's been suggested he has a Qatari one as well, which I'm sure
Really?
comes in very handy, just whisking through immigration when he goes to Doha. And the reason people are upset about this is apparently under Lebanese law, you cannot get a Lebanese passport through marriage. So if you were to...
Yeah, it's from your dad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's patrilineal. So if you were to marry, if you're not Lebanese and you marry a Lebanese woman, you're not entitled to a passport, or it's a very difficult procedure. Hey, guys, this isn't why he got the Lebanese passport. He's been married to the same Lebanese woman for 25 years.
Yeah.
He got it because the Lebanese FA wants to somehow suck up at him. And they said, the same way universities give out honorary degrees, here's a Lebanese passport, which you will probably never use. That's all that happened. So I don't know, was he supposed to say, oh, no, I stand with people who are unhappy with the patrilineal law governing Lebanese citizenship.
It's
so I don't...
unfair for the people who are trying to get a Lebanese passport
It's
for
fine,
their husband or wives or...
That's fine. I just think there's many stakes to beat Gianni Infantino with. I don't know that this is one of them. I think it's an issue, but you don't want him to get involved in politics. You do want him to get involved in politics. Yeah, I think we have to kind of pick a lane on this one. Yeah. I mean, criticize the Lebanese FA because you're basically devaluing your Lebanese passport by saying like, oh, we'll give it to our friend here, but we won't give it to other people who are married and maybe reside in Lebanon or so on and have all sorts of issues who marry Lebanese women. That, I think, is fair. More FIFA. As expected, they've sanctioned 1 3-minute water break per half during World Cup games next summer. You good with this, Jules?
No, I think 3 minutes is too long. I think this is like a timeout in basketball, and this is not basketball, obviously. This will, I think, help coaches to have those kind of tactical breaks, which I don't think we should have in football, the World Cup or anywhere else. I think the water break or the cooling break, as we saw in the Club World Cup, for example, for 45 seconds or a minute is enough. You don't need the 3 minutes. This, I mean, one of the French broadcasters of the World Cup has already said that they're going to put a lot of advert during those 3 minute break.
That's a perfect opportunity.
Exactly.
Monetize
So more
the
money
break.
from FIFA, more money from the right holders, more money for all of that. But for the players to have a 3 minute break, I don't think is good physically. Drink for a bit, for sure. Don't drink too much, by the way. But 3 minutes is too long for me. And again, I think it will advantage the bigger teams.
Yeah, I think the other factor with this is the coaches obviously love it because the kind of coaches who like to actively coach.
Yeah.
It's going to have the impact, I think, because you've got this thing, you can make certain tweaks, which will, generally, are invariably defensive tweaks. So it'll probably make the game slightly more defensive. If it becomes effectively a coaching break, then you have to allow it everywhere, right? So even when I'm indoors, in an indoor stadium, or in Vancouver where it's 13 degrees Celsius or whatever, then I have to allow it, which seems kind of stupid.
Yeah.
So maybe would one way out of it say you can have the water break, but you can't have any contact with the bench?
Yeah, maybe. Or they usually come towards the bench, don't they, where all the bottles are and everything. But yeah, I think I understand the cooling break and the water break, the players, especially if it's really, really hot, but that's too long for me. After Atletico Madrid, private equity giants Apollo have taken a stake in Wrexham. Gab, is this significant?
The Wrexham thing by itself is not, although what we're seeing is obviously, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I like to think of them as Nightman and Dayman. They've been looking to get some of their money out, and rightly so. They came in, they built this, they spent money. I don't think it's making money, but the brand is growing, nothing wrong with that. What's interesting is the stance Apollo have taken. They've created a fund. They're raising $5 billion. Obviously, the Atletico Madrid is the biggest investment they've made, and I think that is going to be significant because you actually do something with it. With Wrexham, it kind of feels like, let me buy a little chunk. If they make it to the top flights, that kind of investment, let me get a little lottery ticket in here. And besides, as the private equity people like to say, they need to deploy capital. So I think, given the Atletico Madrid stake, I think valued the club at 2.3 billion. They didn't obviously buy the entire club, but I think they still have another 3 to 4 billion to go. So we'll see where they go and put that money. Mikhailo Mudryk, who tested positive for meldonium, and which is a banned substance apparently, and hasn't played in more than a year, was given a 12-month driving ban because he was stopped because his car had overly tinted windows. Jules, does it seem fair to you? Does your car have tinted windows? What are you hiding inside?
No, and I don't know the rule really, but I'm sure if that was given by the court, then I guess it's fair. Or is it deserved? I don't know.
I don't understand, like, there's very few situations where you would ever need to drive the car. And there's a picture of his car. He was actually stopped minutes from my house. It's a cheeseball car. You're in a cheeseball situation. You should keep a very, very low profile if you're Mikhailo Mudryk. One of the excuses he gave in one of his previous court appearances when his license was suspended and he was driving was saying, like, I needed to get to training and my driver wasn't available. Bro, take an Uber then. Also, what you need to go to training for? I'm not being funny.
Obviously, sure why we're talking about this was this so quick.
To make fun of him.
To mock him, I see. Egypt will face Iran on June 26 in Seattle in the World Cup, as we know, but both countries are unhappy because, Gab, they've written to FIFA saying they object to the fact that an LGBTQ plus pride celebration will be taking place at the same time in Seattle that day.
Okay, this is obviously a sticky situation for FIFA and for the organizers. It doesn't need to be, right? There's a very polarized situation. This celebration that takes place in Seattle, it's not like they said, despite what some people think, it's not like they said, aha, look, we're getting Egypt and Iran. Both have laws restricting LGBTQ rights. Let's go and have a big pride march and a big pride celebration at the same time. No, actually, because, well, first of all, their celebration, they've been doing this since 2007, well before the World Cup. This is just what happens at that time. And they chose the day 2 days before the draw, right? To have their march. So this is not them trying to troll Egypt and Iran. At the same time, I think if you're FIFA and you want to be inclusive, bizarro as it sounds, Egypt and Iran have different cultural views and religious views, I guess, on this issue. You can swerve the whole thing. And here's my suggestion. Belgium and New Zealand, who are in the same group, they play at the exact same time, just up the road from Seattle in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Flip them. Well, first check to make sure there's no Pride March in Vancouver at the same time. Once you've done that, just avoid the issue. I'm curious to see how this works out because I'm hoping the president of the United States doesn't find out about this and doesn't somehow weigh in one way or another, because I think that'll just turn this into more of a political issue. There's enough politics in football already. You can avoid this pretty easily if you're smart about it. Jules, this brings us to an end.
Yeah.
But we got to come back on Monday. Clock is ticking down towards the holidays, and we're going to have some, maybe not verdicts, but early indications of where everybody is, including Xabi Alonso. So we're going to be back on Monday. Until then, love the game, love your neighbor, love yourself.